I would like to start my lecture with a small historical recollection of FAO. David Lubin, a California of Polish origin, in 1905 founded the International Institute of Agriculture with its headquarters in Rome. And the IIA ceased operation in 1945. FAO took over the mandate of international coordination in agriculture and named its library after David Lubin. The slides show that also on the afternoon of 16 October 1945, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, came into existence with the signature of its constitution by more than 20 nations. By the end of this first conference session, which was held in Quebec, 42 nations had firmly joined the organization, and 2 years of hard work of the interim commission formed by the President Roosevelt's Hot Springs Conference in May 2043 had maturity into the first of the post-war United Nations specialized agency. So you can see from the small photo and the Charter Frontenac, Quebec, where the FAO was founded on 16 October 1945. That's why the 16 October is so important for FAO and for the global food and agriculture. And that slide shows first director of the FAO was a renowned nutrition scientist, John Boyer. It's a British gentleman. And after him, now I'm a ninth DG of FAO. So I really salute all my processors for their lifelong commitment and contribution to the FAO mandate and mission. And his first DG pointed by nutritionists as a big, strong signal to speak of the essential role of the nutrition given to FAO. Next slide, please. FAO was given a clear and very specific mandate on nutrition to raise the level of nutrition. This is engraved in FAO Constitution. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, when you visit the FAO headquarters now, you still can see that they graved on the wall. And next slide, and show the 1951, the construction of the headquarters of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, near completion. That shows how the generous of the Italian government and people to support the global mission. So in that sense, I special pay condolence to the lost lives during past years, FAO mission, including WFP. And also recent one is our dear colleagues from WFP and also Italian ambassador and lost their lives in Congo. So when we say in Chinese, we have to clean our tears and take a bath to move on our own unfinished mission. That's and every year we celebrate World Food Day. That's why I said it's on the 16th October in 1991, because 16 October is the birthday of FAO. And started in 1981, just 40 years ago, we celebrated the first World Food Day ceremony. And last year, we together with the Italian government, and especially get support from Minister of Foreign Affairs, Agriculture, and also Mayor, Municipal Government of Rome. And we had first time to celebrate a World Food Day on the Roma street, and we first ever video mapping show. That's attracted 15.6 billion. 15.6 billion attraction on that show in the social media. So you can imagine, and now is FAO is really global attraction, and by their consumers and customs. Let us now start the core of my presentation by starting on where we are, where we needed to be by 2030. That's a main course for our this lecture today. And we are at a critical moment in time. We are starting to see a convergence of factors that, if ignored, threaten to prevent us from ending global hunger and malnutrition in all its forms. Our agri-food systems are not delivering the food security and nutrition outcomes we want to achieve. At the same time, our agri-food systems are suffering from pollution, are buffering from dangerous feedback loops that are harmful to our health, economy, and the planet. As rightly mentioned by the President Parisi and other ambassador also Georgia, then it's threat to future food security and nutrition. So we have to look at there is several overarching key drivers and mega trends that have shifted our agri-food systems. First, population dynamics and urbanization. Second, economic growth and structural transformation and macroeconomic stability. Third, cross-country interdependency. And fourth is big data generation, control, use, and ownership. And fifth, geopolitical instability and conflict, and also increased impact of the conflict. And last but not least, uncertainty include the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and others unforeseeable disaster. That's we are facing. We needed to do things different than in the past. Our agri-food systems needed to be transformed. Next, it's evident that our agri-food systems are failing us. At least we are facing a big challenge from the demanding and society, and also the number of hungry people in the world has increased the last 6 years in a row, and it increased by 10 million in 2019 and nearly 60 million in the 5 years before that. COVID-19 pandemic and measures to contain it continued to deliver severe below. By the end of 2020, it estimated that the COVID-19 added another 132 million more even to the number of hungry people in the world. Child studying remains unacceptably high, and overweight, obesity continue to increase in the richer or poor countries alike, especially in the urban areas, no matter you are developing nation or developed nation. So the number of people living with obesity exceeded that of people in hunger in 2012. So it's about 9 years ago, more obesity. And more than 3 billion people in the world cannot afford even the cheapest healthy diets. Next. At the same time, current consumption patterns of agri-food systems that support this are also leading to significant environmental impact. They are the contributor to high food waste and loss, air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, loss of biodiversity, and a growing source of inequality. Our food systems are generating severe human, economic, and environmental costs that are running into the trillions of dollars. Next slide. Then by the 2030, so undernourishment has to be reduced everywhere to the maximum of 5%. Health diets have to be affordable for all. Overweight has to be reduced everywhere to levels of 15%, similar to what it was in 1980s. Obesity needed to be reduced to more than 5%, no more than 5% in any country. That's a big target for us. Stunning among children need to significantly improve. We should recover the lost decade in rural poverty. Inequality needs to be reduced substantially if we want a sustainable reduction of rural poverty. And for the planet, we needed to achieve the number of neutrality. I was talking about not only carbon neutrality, land degradation neutrality. and even each commodities, crops, forests, trees, you have established a neutrality as a whole, of course. Increase the efficiency in the use of water for agriculture, and we need to hit the Paris Agreement target of reducing greenhouse gas emissions to limit global climate warming to between 1.5 and 2.0 degrees C. To get to where we need to by 2030, we must understand the challenges facing us through the agri-food system's lens and act holistically. This requires that we recognize the interconnected and the compounding economic, social, and environmental impact of our agri-food systems. From the policy perspective, this has important implications, providing crucial guidance on how to prioritize our actions and investments. We also need to look for synergies and trade-offs in our pursuit of the solutions. The payoff of doing this can be great. For example, the greening of food systems offers several win-win or even triple-win solutions for ending overhang and tackling climate change. There is an area of portfolio of solutions that can reduce the carbon footprint, ensure environmental sustainability, and at the same time tackle hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition by ensuring affordable health diets for all. Moreover, policy and solution can be designed to be an engine of economic recovery, creating viable jobs and sustainable livelihood, but importantly, to readdressing inequality. We also need to emerging trade-offs. For example, some low and lower middle income countries might need to increase their carbon footprints in order to meet the dietary needs of their populations, particularly to prevent malnutrition. Holistically, agri-food system solution will be context-specific, and much needed to be done to identify these. But it's critical that we begin to do this at a scale. I always say that we want to produce more with less impact, less input, less social and environmental impact. That's what we want. And then we must focus on transforming our agri-food systems. They are not only the largest economic system, measured in terms of employment, livelihoods, planetary impact, but the poverty and the inequality are endemic in our agri-food system. If our agri-food systems are transformed sustainably and inclusively to deliver food security and the nutrition outcome we need, they can become a powerful force to contributing to end hunger and malnutrition in all its forms in the world. We are facing immense challenges. More than 30% of total global land are degraded. More than 20% of world aquariums are overexploited. Our agro-biodiversity is under threat. There are circular interconnected impacts across agri-food systems and other systems, including environment and health systems. This includes more virulent outbreak of the plant and animals, pests and disease. COVID-19 and other diseases are rooted in the environmental change. Our agri-food systems are not only victims in this interconnected and circular loop, but our agri-food systems also are generator of a degradation of natural resources and health. So our food systems is contributing to global greenhouse emission. This is one of the many challenges of food system. Agriculture uses about 40% of the Earth's land, but along with the energy and the transportation, it's contributed specifically to the global greenhouse gas emission. Not only livestock, you can see here, but also the way we produce crops using the fertilizer and so on. Many different aspects of food system are contributing to the global greenhouse gas emissions and contribute to the climate disruptions see all of the world, but we must look at it more in details and to find the potential subsectors to work with and how to improve it. You can see here, you are scientists, so I wanted to give you a little bit details. Look, all the contribution from agriculture is less than 27%. So it's more than 73% from non-agriculture sector, so from industry, from other areas. But look, the investment related to whole agri-food system is much, much less than 27%. So it's not the matching what we need. So that's why we really call all the academic people and the government people and all the international organization, private sector, look at it. We wanted to increase the responsible investment in agri-food system first. Because if you look at the proportion of investment, it's much lower than even 5% of total. But here, we share the responsibility more than 27. And look at the different subsector of agriculture. And the most potential one is we have to improve our footprint from the animals, especially when a lot of red meat is mainly consumed in the high income countries. So that's also is a big potential. And others, but also we wanted to also highlight later what is wear out for food we consume and what kind of lifestyle we should learn from different regions, including Mediterranean foods. So therefore, a piecemeal approach has been unable to address the interconnected nature of this complex challenge. We must urgently work holistically across sectors, transform our agri-food system to become the positive force, a force that protects our planet, our health, and that ensure food security and nutrition for all. Biodiversity, it's another big hot topic now, but the biodiversity should be also linked with ecosystem service, are essential for food security and nutrition through sustainable agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. While they generate multiple livelihood benefits, biodiversity provides regulating and supporting ecosystem service for agricultural production. Over half of world GDP is moderate or high, depending on nature, such as pollination, water quality, natural material, with agricultural 2.5 trillion and food and beverage 1.4 trillion, being two of these largest industry among those most dependent. 75% of Earth's land surface is significantly altered. More than 30% of world land area is moderate or too heavily degraded. 66% of the ocean area is experienced multiple impacts from people, including from fisheries, pollution, chemical change, from the acidification. Over 85% of wetland has been gone, has been lost. Species extinction rate has increased tens to hundreds of times. Nearly a third of fish stock are overfished. 26% of local breeds of livestock are at risk of extinction. 24% of near 4,000 wild food species are decreasing in abundance. So, FAO conducts a comprehensive assessment of world forestry at a regular interval, and we have been doing so since 1946. So that's really our long-term commitment to offer the public goods. So the most recent assessment was completed last year and is based on the individual report from the members' territory across the world. It tells us the forest cover area just over 4 billion hectares, or around 31% of total land area. It also tells us that the proportion of the land covered by forestry, one of the Sustainable Development Goals indicator, is decreasing from 32.5% in 1990. Now it's 30.8% in 2020. In other words, in the last 30 years, the world has been a net loss of 178 million hectares of forest an area about the size of Libya. These figures do not tell the full story, since the net loss is a combination of deforestation, the conversion of the forest to other land use, which happen mainly in tropical forest, and forest gain from the planting and the natural expansion, which happens mostly in temperate forest. So the forests a lot we lose, and those we gain are different, very different. Since 1990, the estimated 420 million hectares of forest has been lost through the deforestation. The good news is that the rate of deforestation is going down from the 16 million hectares per year in the 1990s, and now is 10 million hectares per year during past 5 years. The bad news is that we're still losing the area of forest size of Italy every 3 years. So that's why reforestation. That's why during the G20 presidency, I had a discussion with the government here, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Roma municipal government. We want to create the forest park here, because we should plant more trees here, and then you can really turn the path of deforestation. So once it's important, because the loss of the forest means loss of many things, not only wood. The forest is provided for use in our daily life, and the loss of the habitat that offer for plants and animals. Each year, forests also remove about 11.7 billion tons of carbohydrate from atmosphere. That is about 1/3 of fossil fuel emission. Because of the deforestation, net atmosphere greenhouse gas emission due to the forest and other land use activities account for 11% of global emission. So I think forests, we have a lot of things to do, and holistically and also scientifically in the future. And that's, we need also fully international global engagement and also commitment. That's why FAO launched a Great Green Wall initiative in Africa, and also we support the China, India, other countries to increase the rehabilitation of the grassland and so on. So that's, we need a lot of more big muscle. And now I'm glad to hear from the Green Deal in Europe, you are planning to plant 3.6 billion trees in the coming years. So let's build more tree and bush and the beautiful flowers and so on, surrounding our lives and the city and the countryside, the mountains and the rivers. That's what we can do together. So that is the agri-food system strategy. What is the agri-food system strategy? Because we face so much different scenario in different ecosystems, or man-made or naturally. So how we need to put it into place. After so many years research and investigation and discussion with all the members, FAO, we have 194 members. And especially last year, we, through the formal, informal consultation, now we come to the conclusion. We have a world-facing accelerating threat demands require that we act immediately to safeguard livelihoods, future-proof our planet, local in sustainable outcomes. 2030 agenda is there to guide us, but historically consensus surrounding its adoption must be matched by the political determination to deliver it. With many of the goals in 2030 agenda off track, we need to engage all actors at all levels, because all the more pressing. Today's challenges requires cooperation, not only across the border, but across the whole of society. So that's why I salute the Italian presidency, G20 presidency. You build the 3P, yeah, people, century, and prosperity, and the planet, of course. And in G20, in the 2030 agenda, also we need a partnership. As I always say, 4 Ps. FAO's strategic framework put it at the central, at the strategic narrative of leaving no one behind through efficient sustainable, inclusive, resilient agri-food system for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life. That's the 4 betters representing and organizing principle for how FAO intends to contribute directly, but not limited to SDG 1, no poverty. And today, Chinese government had a very solid and strong statement and Congress to make big announcement to overall of Chinese society have finished the SDG 1. That's about 10 years ahead of 2030 agenda. We need more members like China to do so. And then SDG 2, zero hunger. So SDG 3, reduce the inequalities, as well as to support the achievement of a broad SDG agenda, which is crucial for achieving FAO overall vision. The betters reflect the interconnected economic, social, environmental dimension of agri-food systems. As such, they also encourage a strategic and system-oriented approach within all FAO interventions. Next slide. In order to accelerate progress, maximize our efforts in meeting the SDGs, and to realize our aspirations, the 4 betters, FAO will apply for cross-cutting, cross-sectors, accelerate technology, innovation, data, and complementary governance, human capital, and institution. In all our programmatic interventions, sustainably feeding close to 10 billion people by 2050, it's an unprecedented challenge. So that's why I said always we need efficient, improve the productivity first. Yeah, of course, we need the 4 betters as a whole solution, a package of solution. It is speaking to the paramount importance of accelerating the impact of our programmatic interventions while minimizing trade-offs. The 4 accelerate shows can have achieved both objectives. It is critical that technology, innovation, and data are inclusive and gender sensitive and are used to spur development. Emerging technologies are already changing the food and the agricultural sector. Yet most government or food systems actors have yet to harness the powerful potential. Yesterday, I chaired the stadium meeting with World Economic Forum. We want to get all the key players on board, have the farmers take full advantage of new technology, such as digital agriculture. That's why I have more than 12 years experience in China. And so FAO, we host the international platform for digital and agriculture. That will be a good, big platform for help us to transform agri-food system. Also biotechnology. So yes, we cooperate with Professor Van Braun when he was Director General of IFPRI. We all promote the bioeconomy based on the biotechnology. Procession, agricultural innovation in agroecology, 5G, artificial intelligence. That's why the last year we had a Roman call together with Vatican, Holy See, and strongly supported by Holy Father, and together with other Italia government and other IBM or Microsoft and so on, to increase food production whilst respecting the environment is of paramount importance. The accelerate aims to reduce the physical input, improve the way we optimize their use. For example, allocate them more efficiently to get more out of each unit of input. That's really, that's a beauty of the digital technology, digital agriculture. They can force us to minimize it, rationalize it, all the inputs. As an example, the food and agriculture sector can harness digital tools range from e-commerce and blockchain transaction ledger to the use of artificial intelligence for improved pest control and crop genetics, as well as tools allow the optimized management of natural resources and early warning of food security threats. Innovation in general, in particular in agriculture, is a central driving force for achieving the world free from hunger and malnutrition. Innovation, science, include the social innovations, policy innovation, institutional innovation, financial innovation, and technology innovation are important drivers affect the food and agricultural production and distribution process. So I admire the Italia Academy della Lincei. 700 years, you along with so many big contribution to the science and the technology advance. And it's really let the science speak, and then we can, a politician can follow science, and then we can really, society will respect science, and then we have a more beautiful and better world as we enjoyed. On data, FAO geospatial platform and big data lab exemplified how data on food, agriculture, social, economic, natural resource can come together to help to strengthen evidence-based decision-making in food and agriculture sector. Data can entirely enable monitor agricultural water productivity, include agricultural systems at risk due to the human resources on land and water, a certain aquatic species distribution, and analyzing precipitation trend, along with design of targeted agricultural interventions, investment plans through the territory approach, which foster equality, inclusion, and sustainable food and nutrition security. Complementary refer to the needed governance, human capital, and institution to ensure an inclusive agri-food system transformation. Transformative process require as a precondition, upstream enabler, much stronger, more transparent, and accountable institution and governance, include adaptive and effective regulatory governance. As technology revolutionized, risk of unequal access and exclusion room. Investment in human capital by building capacity, as well as policy and the regulations minimizing such risk are required. It is essential that the lab supply respond to the new lab demand that will result from new technology and innovation to make the process more inclusive. Technology have to be affordable so everyone can access them and use them. Other structural barriers to their application include education and training, and also must be identified and addressed. Next slide. How we walk the talk and moving from strategy to action. Because the concept theoretic, we should learning through the different action plan. And we have prioritized 20 programs, priority areas of work that are framed around the 4 betas of our new strategic narrative and will be progressively elaborated. Key priority areas under the better production include the green innovation, blue transformation, One Health, small-scale producers, inequitable access to the resource, and digital agriculture. Priority around the better nutrition include the health diet for nutrition for the most vulnerable, safe food for everyone. So we need to address the context and food safety to ensure that all the food it's eatable, edible. Reducing the food loss and waste is mostly, I said, marginal utility, because when we reduce 1% of food loss and waste, will be harvested at least 5% of environmental return. Even not consider the economic value, but the environment alone will be 5 times more. So that's why FAO will work with the European and the other key partners. We are looking at these issues, food loss and waste. That's why we celebrate the first International Public Awareness Day on food loss and waste last year. And also transparent market and trade. Priority under the better environment include less pollution. That's we need the non-agricultural sector to contribute to improve it. And then the restoring ecosystems, big ecosystem. and also improve agro-environment will be the roadmap to all. Agriculture at large, including the crop, animals, forestry, aquaculture, will be contributor to one health planet from the suffering in the past. Because after Industrial Revolution about 200 years ago, and agricultural field, the environment was suffering a lot. And then come to the buffer. And later now it's time for us to become the contributor. All of this contribute to the better life. And the program priority area, there is equal gender equality, as Ambassador Georgia mentioned, without the gender equality, without the real civilization, without the real human rights. Because we are human, include brotherhood and sisterhood. And the rural woman empowerment, inclusive rural transformation, sustainable able food system, agriculture and food emergencies, resilient agri-food system, as well as a special program and initiative around the scaling up investment, hand in hand, which focus specifically on ensure that collective action towards SDGs achievement can be brought to the scale to trigger transformational change in agri-food system. Cross-cutting theme around gender, youth, inclusion will ensure that we do not lose sight of vulnerable and marginalized group across all our work in order to leave no one behind and contribute to the achievement of SDG 1, 2, and 10 and others. Finally, as I previously mentioned, we will also apply 4 cross-cutting, cross-sector accelerate: technology, innovation, data, and complementary. That includes governance, human capital, institution. In all its programmatic interventions to accelerate the impact of our programmatic interventions while minimize the trade-offs. Let us now go into detail some of this program priority area. So come to the next slide. First, digitalization. We are proposing the development of 1,000 digital villages. That's 1,000 digital. I just want to build the pilot or demonstration to how to transform the rural economy, township level, digital level, village level, to the digital village. That's include digital governance, digital economy, and digital society. So that's a real inclusive approach. And from perspective of agricultural production, it refers to e-agriculture. And from the perspective of farmers' livelihood, it refers to digital farming service. And from the perspective of a village, it refers to digital service to support the rural transformation. So, and also included the deliver public service in health, education, job, welfare, tourism, as ecotourism and agro-tourism. So I'm really admire, salute, commend the Italian government now they build back better after the pandemic. You have a lot of things to advantages in this digital transformation for your town, your small city also, and of course village. Because I said Italy to your Prime Minister, your Minister of Foreign Affairs, Italy is famous for four. First is food, because you are famous for Italian food or Mediterranean food at large, F. And then you have fun, fashion, and football. And of course, included the tourism. That's fashion and fun. And last but not least, of course, you have full of energy, because Italian people are so dynamic. You have a lot of innovative ideas to help you transform from the traditional agriculture or science-based or natural-based to the digital Italy. That's what I really happy to see you are transformed. The holistic approach brings all those elements of digitalization needed to support the agri-food system transformation and the rural transformation needed to achieve SDGs. Because so many years, a lot of countries, a lot of members only look at the agricultural sector. But if you look at the rural sector, it's also a matter of the inequality, because globally, you can see the urban inequality between urban and rural, between man and woman, between rich and poor. So that's a three types of inequality. And if we transform the rural areas properly, and we really have a social equality, inclusive development as a whole. Next slide. A story of transformation through the aquaculture make it clear the aquaculture is not only fish production, but it's a driving force to establish a green lifestyle. In that aspect, when I come to Italy first time, 30 years ago, I was thinking, but especially this time, I stay here longer. And so I think Italia, you have a lot of green lifestyle. Yeah, you should share with other members globally. That's our joint responsibility to not only share your Italian food or Mediterranean food, but I look that we started to change the habitat. I said I'm a simple person, simple life. So always start from simple way, how to change the business, how to change the lifestyle. And then you can really build up the environment-friendly lifestyle. Because my colleague told me that, and in the recent years, catch fish reached the maximum global production in the middle 1990s, and has remained remarkable constant since. Despite much regional variation, at some time the old production industry, aquaculture started to grow and not much catch fish in volume. In the recent analysis, FAO has projected 3 future scenarios for both sectors: a high rod, low rod, and a business as usual scenario. The difference between the high rod and the low rod is total 110 metric million tons. How do we get to the high rod? Blue transformation. The sustainable intensification of aquaculture, where food is needed most, and the transformative fishery management, where the sustainability is under threat. The potential of blue transformation to fill in the demand gap by the middle of century is unparalleled. So you can see if we start, and more scientifically, because now today we come to the lecture here. So I want to bring this very, very scientific-based analysis. It's offered by my friend and my colleagues. One has to remember the fish is the most efficient converter of food to flesh. So that's why the country and food like Italy, China, Japan, or Spain, if you like to eat fish, it's a good green lifestyle. Because they do not regulate their temperature and live in water, thus require less skeletal investment. It outpaces the chicken, pork, certainly beef in their efficiency. 1 kilo of feed, animal feed, you get almost 1 kilo or 800 grams of fish. But some feed only get you 150 grams of beef, or 280 grams of pork, or maybe 400 grams of chicken or duck. So eat more fish from the aquaculture will be, I think, like your famous Italian scientist several hundred years ago, you can use as a bigger leverage bar to change the whole society on the environment. And we have so much water in the world, not only seawater, and also fresh water, lake, and so on. We only use the 1% of water. We can produce more than 10% of protein, animal protein, for the human being. That's also environmentally sustainable, minimize negative impact on environment. That's my conclusion from that slide. Yeah, maybe the number is not precisely, but the trade and the conclusion is so remarkable. So I hope the Italian Academy can make this real change, the scenario and the storytelling about how to change the environment. Surprisingly, given now well-known capacity of fish to address the micronutrient deficit, especially in pregnant women and children under 5 years old. It was only 2014 when the CFS high-level panel of experts recognized the incredible raw fish and has secured the world without hunger and malnutrition. The third, maintaining a sustainable food system to have a more green space, including able and peri-able agriculture and forests, are essential for city. Because more and more people live in city. But then by 2050, more than 70% of people are living in the city. So that's why the last UN General Assembly, I launched the Great Green City Initiative together with other UN organizations and the member of the cities and so on. That's I want to bring attention on how to green city means for future city. We want to build on the FAO experience of integrated agriculture, forestry, fishery, and a sustainable food system in able and peri-able settings. The main objective of FAO Green City Initiative and its action program is to increase people's well-being and establish a green economy through better access to improve the green products and the green service provided by the able and peri-able forestry, agriculture, and food system on a sustainable basis. FAO Green City Initiative not only plant tree, because when you talk about green, people immediately think just plant tree. No, not only, much more beyond that. So we wanted to have a demonstrate at least 100 cities globally how to establish a good linkage between able and peri-able, and also what is a new living atmosphere, surrounding environment for the future citizen in the city. Of the next 1,000 cities are expected to join by 2030. The initiative focuses on improving the able environment, strengthening able rural linkage, and the resilience of able system, service, and population to external shock, while ensuring access to the health environment and health data from a sustainable food system. It will also contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation. Finally, we launched the Hand in Hand initiative. It's a big platform to accelerate agricultural transformation and sustainable rural development to end poverty, hunger, and all forms of malnutrition. Hand in Hand initiative is a country lead, country-owned program to eradicate poverty, SDG 1, and end hunger and all forms of malnutrition, SDG 2. Program use the integrated geospatial, biophysics, and social economic analysis and agri-food systems lines to identify the sustainable territory where the agricultural and rural transformation can have a transformative impact within 6 to 8 years time frame. Programs support the countries that have a limited capacity for sustaining such a process on their own or are challenged by the serious food crisis. The program strengthens national capacity for evidence-based decision-making and implement the sustaining complex, highly integrated program of activities adapted to territory-specific conditions, needs, and contexts. Dear colleague, COVID-19 pandemic provide us with an astonished wake-up call on the fragility of hunger. But it also provides us an opportunity to re-evaluate how we tackle the root cause of our hunger and build resilience against threat. To start anew before it was too late, we are hit with another global disaster of the same or greater magnitude. This pause requires that we look frankly and honestly, let science speak first. I really admire, because I was a scientist, one of the leading scientists in the world on the plant science and horticulture. So I really respect scientists and scientific solution suggestions, because politicians should listen the suggestions from scientists, and the people, society should respect science, not listening to the rumors or disinformation. Otherwise, you can't move any big agenda, because everyone, you have your own interpretation. So I think the Industrial Revolution or Renaissance of Rome, civilization, tell us once the science dominates, this society become bright, really bright future, and civilization will move on. Otherwise, we have to suffer it. Not only at the effect on the hunger, but also at the driving behind the trends and inequalities in access to the food and the layer in the heart of the problem. It requires that we understand the interconnected nature of the facts driving food insecurity and the shortcomings of food systems. If we always say, if we didn't look at the problems, it's a big problem. If you look at dozens of problems, you solve it by priority, and then you have a less and less problem. Otherwise, you will accumulate small problems, become the bigger problems. That's my solution, to want to share with you. We have succeeded in the past. We have succeeded now. On the 28th June 2011, Roma ran past the eradication plague commemorative ceremony for the adoption of FAO Declaration on the Global Freedom from Random Pest, FAO Conference 37th session in the Rome. And now come to the also FAO contributed immensely to the first green revolution through capacity building, technology transfer, working together closely with Professor Roman Bloch, is more on the wheat and the maize, and Professor Yalongping more on the rice, hybrid rice. Their research helps save the countless life. And Professor Yalongping's hybrid rice, they can save more 801 billion people if we grow the hybrid rice with their new productivity. So you have a much less input of fertilizer and so on. So that's really good for environment. So we need the science, we need the biotechnology, we need a new genetically modified varieties, which help us to improve the efficiency and productivity. That's an innovation helps us. All we have accomplished, what we accomplished was together with our partners and especially support from our host country, Italy. I said last year when we celebrated the 75th anniversary, history tells us Italia, it's not only Asian civilization from Roman time, and you have a civilization gene to help the world to keep the civilization inherited from one generation to another. And that's a generosity from Italy and from Italy people. I think it's another form of multilateralism, another form of global contribution. So let me finalize. Thanks Italy and all the members for your trust on FAO, for your accountable, for your reliable commitment to our long journey of mission. Left no one behind, left no land of behind, left no people behind. We want one health for all, no hunger, with the stomach before every day goes to the bed. Yeah, thank you.